do 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 do. Oh, here we go. Hi. How we doing? There's stuff on screen. I promise. I'm just kind of hold on. My internet's been super finicky, so I'm turning this down a little bit, just a little bit. And we'll see how it goes. How is it going today, fellas? And YouTube decided it doesn't actually want to show my chat. Hold on, I can't see you guys. What is going on? There we go. There you are. That's very strange. Never encountered that bug before. And we can hear... Yeah, okay. Very funny. Very, very, very funny you are. Anywho, looks like we have an explanation... an explanation patch. You know what? Yeah. We have an explanation patch and an exploration patch this time. It's a twofer. It's a 2-for-1 deal. Feels like it is both too soon and a long time coming. You know what I mean? I am pretty excited to go shuffling through the storage unit of the Shade of Space. I saw a couple of things in chat before I hit play or start. Before I hit start, that button. Before I hit that button, that was cool. I saw some stuff that was cool. And I'm trying to find, hold on, I'm stalling for time. Astrazeal's Nonsense said, does Asmodee's storage closet remind anyone else of Mawika's room of various trinkets? And yeah, kind of. I mean, we kind of knew that Asmodee liked to package things up. Although, I guess what we didn't know is whether or not she liked to do it or whether or not it was her job to do it. And at this point, I'm leaning more into she likes to do it or is doing it for a very specific purpose. Because like in the Shades animation that I have forgotten the name of, don't mind me. In that animation, they went to a bunch of her different cubes. Right? Like, one of the scenes where they were in that tree and Istroth's, like, reversing the time of the tree or whatever, that was inside of a cube. So that makes you think that, you know, this might just be, like, a small personal collection compared to a giant repository that the other Shades weren't going through. I don't know what the difference would be. Like, I don't know where storage-wise the difference would be. Or maybe there isn't one. Because we're getting shot into the sky, right? We're getting shot into the sky on this one. I'm sorry, Linnea. We're kind of skipping you for right now. Linnea's interesting, but honestly, in the grand scheme of this patch, she's almost a footnote, which is a little sad. But we'll talk about her, too, and... I don't really want to talk about this one. Let me save her for another time. I'm not really a fan. Right, so they said that in Dorman Port, up here in the sanatorium, there's a statue of Venti, and then this statue of Venti is going to throw us up into the sky. Why are you not hearing audio? I'm not playing the audio of the video. The video's muted, because otherwise it gets confusing. Because then there's like lots of other people talking underneath me, and not only will I get distracted, everyone else will get distracted, and so that's off. But if you can't hear me, that's a problem. I don't hate Linnea, though. I don't. I just, like, if you put Linnea next to Shade of Space stuff, I mean, the scales are vastly imbalanced. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't. She doesn't have quite as much lore implications. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying. She's still interesting. We'll still talk about her. All I was saying is that like we're supposed to get yeeted into the sky, which I think is very interesting. I like this scene. This scene is cool. There's so much going on here. Look at that. This whole area here is just cubes. Just infinite cubes. Just a whole sea of data cubes. It's crazy. It's going to be quite jarring if this is very lore relevant area isn't voice acted. I can't imagine they would voice act it though. I mean, it might be. It kind of sounded like that boss. It's called like, what was her name or his name? I don't know. Meltana or not the hand. The hand is Dex, obviously. The hand is Dex, but Melinda. That's what I was looking for. Sorry. I was looking for this because why is this open? Go away. There it goes. Melinda talks to us. It sounded like there might be a voice in the opening trailer that kind of sounded like it could belong to this Watcher, as they called it. They're really going full ham on the Enoch stuff. Really going full ham on the Enoch stuff. I think it's funny. But yeah, it's actually possible that this repository that we're visiting with all these cubes in it isn't even just like a small selection or whatnot. It could be that this is the place where the other shades were traversing looking for Asmodee, thinking that she might be inside of her collection. Who is Nihil or Nile? I don't actually know how they're gonna say this. I don't know who Nile is. This isn't very clear. So there's two ways you can take this. We were looking at the Chinese, like the direct Chinese translation on Discord earlier, and it's not any more specific. But what it did say that I thought was interesting is that it is possible that the creator in this case could be the creator of this space. So the creator in this case could be Asmodee, but if that's the case, then Nile or Nihil, I don't know how we're gonna say it, would potentially be the Heavenly Principles. But alternatively, it would be the other way around. But it's possible both ways. The first time I read this, I thought that one of them might be referring to the Dragon King, but I don't think that's the case. Because I think this thing wouldn't predate the Dragon King. So it would be very strange in context if it were referencing that. Yeah, I would prefer they pronounce it Nihil, as in nihility, but I've also heard it pronounced Nihil, so we'll see. Isn't Nihil the second Watcher who is in Dormant Port? Is it? I thought the second Watcher was gonna be Dex. Is Dex Nihil? In the port? I don't remember that. Is Dex not the second Watcher? I just assumed Dex was the second Watcher. The world boss is called the Fallen One in the stream. Oh. Well then. I guess that's fair. Is Dex Niall's right hand? Maybe. First is Melanta, second is the world boss. I see. I thought this was the world boss arena, so this was the world boss. Apparently not. Why are you saying Niall is Dottore? You've seen Dexter. Dex could be No, this guy being the guard dog for the quest, I got that. I got that. Do they have opposite wings? Did I just miss that entire... Where's the boss section? Oh, you're right, they do. Oh, this is the boss arena. I see. I made an error. Well, I mean, is it that they have opposite wings, or does the boss shift? Well, I guess not. Is that really all they showed us about the world boss, is just this one little thing? And I just... Okay. Well, I guess that's that then. So in that case, the primordial being would be either Asmodee or the Heavenly Principles, yeah? Because they look like they'd be born from Asmodee, specifically. Why is his hand similar to Dottore? Is it? The description might have more lore. It didn't look like it. Hold on. I'm waiting for it to pop up again. This is what I get for watching this when I took the dogs for a walk today. Probably should have done it when I wasn't having to watch where I was walking. A shadow construct born from the overflow of the mighty primordial being. Though enthroned in the pillar hall high in the heaven, it will in the end fall into the mortal world once it opens its eye. Yeah. So we actually have a name for the cloud barrier now, huh? The pillar hall. I'm curious about something. This is unrelated. But no, actually, no, this is kind of related. Assuming the pillar hall is the place from the start of the game and the literal loading screen start of the game, Skirk's animated one-shot thingy, you know, her little PV, right? That had her passing through two barriers. One was the external firmament, and the second was the cloud barrier, which would be the Hall of Pillars. But I think what's confusing to me about the position of this pillar hall, as I guess it will now be called, is that... was another thing too. It has to be in some sort of hidden layer, right? Because, like, for one, you can't see it from Columbina's moon inside of the firmament. So either the pillar hall is beyond the moon, or it is in a subspace somewhere and you can't access it directly. Because otherwise, things get really confusing when Dottore, like, unzipped the sky, and also when Mavuika punched the sky, because, like, it didn't touch the pillar hall. But then why did Skirk pass through it? That's very confusing. Isn't Nihil isn't Nihil another word for void? Kind of? It's another word for, like, nothingness. So in some interpretations, yes. But when we talk about like the shade of space and also the shade of the sky. In Chinese, she's called the shade of the void. And void in this case, in Chinese, like the characters are synonymous with space as in outer space, but also as in like space as in ether space, like the philosophical ether, the space between things, the air, which is why it's often synonymous with the sky, which is why like ether, the traveler, or one of the travelers rather, the traveler ether, he's often called Sora, which is sky, right? Like that's why they get translated that way. So like there is a logic here to how they've named it. I just wonder, where is this thing? I want to know where this pillar hall is, because it's very strange. Sora from Kingdom Hearts? No. In Japanese, Ether is called Sora, is he not? He's Sora, and then Lumine is Hotaru, which is like Firefly or something along those lines. Something like that. I saw a super I missed. I'm sorry. I gotta make sure I'm not ignoring this. But Cyrus Gold, thank you for the super. Hey, Asmodee, nice collection. Asmodee, thanks. It has pockets. Pockets of space. Yes. Rummaging through her pockets to find her little pets, I guess. Is it Hikari and not Hotaru? I thought it was Hotaru. Maybe it's not. I could look it up. I mean, that is something I could do. I have the power to do this. I could do this. I could look it up. And not sit here waffling. Go away. Oh, I'm sorry. He's not Sora. He's Kong. I'm sorry. And Ying, which is glow. Okay. In Chinese, it's Kong for sky, Ying for glow, and then it is Sora and Hotaru in Japanese. That's what I was remembering. Okay. That makes more sense. But you see the pattern, right? Like, because Lumine is luminous, as in light. Ether is sky, so light in the sky. It's a play on luminiferous ether. So fireflies in the sky, little flickers of light in the sky, and then also like glowing in the sky. You see the pattern. That's okay. Irrelevant. You get the idea. Why is dex? Dex is Latin for finger. Oh right, because dexterous, ambidextrous, right? Like multiple. Yeah, okay. That did not occur to me. I always think dex as in like an index, but not like an index finger, but like a directory. But oh yeah, dexterity, right? Yeah, okay. Isn't Kong more like weather? I think they have overlap to some degree. I think they have overlap to some degree. One thing that I noticed when I was looking at this, though, is if you look at the way that the pillars come down from the sky, and also the blocks in the background, they are very Simulanka. Like the cubes in the sky and stuff, because they don't have the eye marks on them. It's different. Hold on. What I wanted to do was actually come in here. So you see this palace, though? Does this not look, this whole scenario here, does this not look like the toy block area from Simulanka? Right? With the pillars coming down from the sky and the stars hanging, and then like the castle right in the middle. I kind of want to like, hold on. Constellation Metropole, that's what it's called. That's what it's called. This place, right? With the pillars coming down from the sky, the 4-pointed star. Well, these were actually 5-pointed stars. But the stars hanging from the sky and then the big clockwork tower, right? Yeah. The other thing here is you can barely see it in this image, so I probably gotta go get my video clip so you can see it properly. They'll never let Simulanka go, do they? No, they can't. They can't. You don't. I just did I write another theory about dragons and storybooks? Yes, I did. I'm gonna do it again too, probably. At least one more time. But this is part of why I keep saying that Durin is a metaphor for Nibelung, or an allegory for Nibelung. He's not the current ruler of it, but he was born of it. He was born alongside it. The same way Nibelung was born alongside Tevat. I'm just saying. That's why they're like this. I know, I'm so mad that, like, when they made Durin playable, they didn't make Simulanka, like, permanent. They should have. If any event should have been permanent, it should have been this one. Honestly, like, even though Easy Breezy Resort is good and it has some fun stuff in it, I would trade it for Simulanka in a heartbeat. Honestly. Okay, hold on a second. Give Dane a minute. He's an older type hard drive, and he's a little slow. He takes a minute. I wanted to grab something from Simulanka from here. These. So in Simulanka, like, the sky was full of these cubes too. Right? That's another thing. Cause like in Susty's little domain here, I still call her Susty. I probably will for like ages and ages. But like I know this is Fontaine. There was another instance though where like there were just cubes like regularly in the sky. I'm probably not gonna be able to find them. I'll probably end up finding them when I don't want them later. But I was just thinking about it from that perspective, you know? Although I will say, these are very Fontainian. These are very much Fontaine Research Institute-like cubes. Dottoro's hand is blue and his yellow but similar pattern. So is Dottoro's plan maybe to be the master of Asmodee? It is possible. It is very possible. And what did Durin cause? Making everything cube again. Yes. Although, you know, that is interesting now that you say that with, wait, hold on. And Zhongli is holding a cube in his statue. Yeah, that does beg a good question, doesn't it? Thank you for that. I actually needed that for something. I'm writing it down. Otherwise, I will forget it. I'll forget all about it. It is all cubes, yeah, because the world is pixels. It's a pixelated world, guys. It's all pixels. Oh, yeah, okay, I see. That would mean that one of these is Meltana and Malanta? Malanta, not Meltana. And the other one is Nile. Nile and Meltana. Malanta. Why do I keep saying Meltana? It's like a Sultana. Pyramid tetrahedron is superior. You don't understand why Susty would preserve spaces? I can tell you why. Here's the thing. I have been on the Sustainers preserving things in her cube train for a very, very, very long time. literally years at this point. Except my original prediction was that she actually had souls inside of her cubes. That was my original assumption. And I thought I made a pretty good case for it. But like the whole rationale, it's kind of interesting. This sort of reminds me of Fischl's level in the second Golden Apple Archipelago. Sorry, distracted. I have magpie brain. What was I saying? Oh yeah. So my rationale for saying that Asmodee had souls in her cubes was the fact that when Conria was being destroyed, there were just like a ton of cubes coming out of the fallen city and stuff. And I was like, well, maybe she's preserving the people and like putting them in containment packages and making sure that they can't enter Teyvat and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of lined up with our first interaction with Kari Bear, because Kari Bear said that when he was dead, I guess, he thought he felt him like he was in a small enclosed little room, little dark room. So it was like, oh, that sounds like he's in a box, right? Sounds like he's in a closet or something. But now we're seeing that she actually preserves like whole spaces, and we kind of knew that from the Shades trailer. We knew that, but now we're actually seeing this and looking at the evidence of it, and we're seeing like how everything works, right? And she's done this a lot. It's not like an isolated incident. She does it a lot. Now, what did we just learn in the last event from this last patch? We learned that things that are discarded or not chosen are things that end up turning into abyssal energy, right? But if you could not discard something, but just isolate it away from the thing that you wanted it to not be a part of anymore, then it wouldn't turn into abyssal energy, right? So if we think of it that way, then the sustainers, well, I need to get out of that. This is going to be a hard habit to break. I'm going to call her Susty and Asmodee like interchangeably. So just so you know. So like Asmodee's actions in this context make sense to me. Because it's almost like she's running damage control, right? Because technically speaking, the way the firmament looks, it looks like Asmodee's red cubes. Like it's got the red pixelation and whatnot. So chances are the firmament is something that she is supposed to sustain, right? But what's outside the firmament? You've got more abyss, right? There's an abyssal threat in the depths of space. We know that. So she's trying to keep the abyss out, but there's also lots of abyss inside of Teyvat. So she's also probably trying to keep the abyss contained, or at least prevent more of it from coming to pass. That would be my guess. That makes the most logical sense. And it would also just like follow a natural progression of them being like, hey, here's information on what the abyss is. Here's an example of how it works in a bubble world. Now you can see like a practical example. Now here's a world quest where you get to see like a measure that we can, a preventative measure that we can take against making more abyss, right? You see, right? Yeah. Also, I have to share something with you guys. I didn't realize this until I was in the middle of writing a theory. I did not realize that we have actually known the definition of the abyss since version 1.2. Because it is right here. Literally in the description for Festering Desire. There it is, right there. Unborn life, unfulfilled wishes, tragic dreams at the edge of the universal darkness that could never come true. The possibilities that weren't chosen. That's it. Phrased a little differently, but right there in the text 5 years ago. Anyway. Found that on accident. I was looking at this for something entirely different. Yeah. It's amazing what recontextualizing a piece of information can do, though, right? Like, looking at it in the context of a bubble world, like, this takes on a whole new meaning. Like, we would have looked at this as just flowery prose, right? We wouldn't have looked at this as like something we should take literally. But it is. It's kind of interesting. Although, like, the universal darkness in this case, the wiki says this should be like the Sea of Stars, which is the world outside of Teyvat. But they did go and mark this as Abyss, which is nice. So, anyway, there's that. What else did they hide in plain sight? A lot. Melanta, an anagram for lament? Oh, interesting. Nihilism and lamentation? That would be interesting. Actually, what does Melanta mean? Does anyone know? I'm guessing that's not just like a random word. There's no way that's just a random word. Melanta. That is not. No. Okay, there's an easier way to do this. Melantha. Oh. There's Melantha, which is dark or flower. Dark flower. I guess that kind of works with nihility. Or nihilism. Huh, cool. I don't know if that's what it's from. Why is the Temple of Space in Mondstadt? Because time and space are married. They're married, you want it. They're married. I just realized Paimon has 6 fingers. Like, for real, she has 6 fingers. Someone forgot. The thing about time and space is that they're kind of like life and death, right? Like, you can't separate them. Time is measured by space, and space is measured by time. So you can't really have one without the other. So if you worship time, you kind of have to worship space in a lot of ways, you know? This has been a debate on Twitter. I saw another version of this where it actually looked like an entire layer of Paimon Sand had been duplicated underneath it. So I don't know if that might be part of it, but she does have 6 fingers in this one, which is different from the other one that I saw, which was like the promotional image, not the one in the stream. But anyway. Oh, I'm not talking about Istaroth and Asmodee. I'm talking about the concepts of time and space. Like, literally, time and space, conceptually. Like, you can't have time without space, and you can't have space without time. If you have one, the other one manifests organically. And the same can be said with, like, life and death, right? Because, like, if you have something that is living, you will also have something that is dying. Because something can't live forever. There's not enough matter in existence. Like, something has to die eventually. But you can't have death without life. So as soon as life happens, death happens. As soon as death happens, life happens, right? So you actually have 2 pairs within the 4 shades, conceptually. We're not talking shipping discourse here. That is not my area of expertise. Right? I don't do that. We don't do that. Which is why space-time is a thing. Yes. Right. Exactly. That's why I call them married. The concepts are married, basically. Like, you can't separate them. If you were to divorce them, the world would just explode. Where does reason fit in? Reason is the ability to observe and to shape reality. Like, you can't have time or space without observation, essentially, You can't have life or death without observation. There, like, someone has to be there to witness in some way. So reason is basically a way to talk about logos, which is thought. It is just existence, and existence is observation because it's also part of awareness. You know, I think, therefore I exist. Very Cartesian. But that's where that comes from. More or less, anyway. You're still very confused as how the four shades relate to the three moons. They don't, but they do. It's more like their authorities overlap more so than their specific roles. So the thing about the three moons is that all three moons had all four powers. And technically five. And they would rotate who was in charge every day. So they shared all the powers collectively. So they had three bodies sharing five powers, basically. But then the heavenly principles presumably split each one of those powers and assigned them one full-time guardian per power. So that's kind of like the difference between the two. At least that's how I currently understand it. That's not like super explicitly said anywhere. It does say that the sisters shared powers. It never says that they were each like a guardian over one thing or another thing. It does say that they shared, but like the mechanics of it are not explicit anywhere. So we have to just make some assumptions, and that's what makes the most sense to me currently. Jonas, thank you for the super as an extra. The slightly sus NPC that takes us to that space is called Zeitland. Zeit is time in German. Istaroth's involvement, perhaps? Possibly. Lind is also likely referring to either... It could be referring to, like, as in Siegeland, as in, like, the popular way to end a German female name. It could be referring to a type of tree. It could be a lindworm. I'm just kidding. It's probably not a lindworm. That'd be cool, though. I'd be down for that. I mean, it's possible that she has some connections here. I think it's a little bit more likely that she might be a guardian of, like, the Thousand Wind, not the Thousand Wind Temple, but, like, the sanatorium, so to speak. So, like, as we go through each of these spaces, it's not just the objects and architectures and stuff in these spaces that exist, like, but there are people in here, right? Like, each one of these spaces appears to have its own guardian, almost. It doesn't seem like there's many in there. So, like, the way I see it, it's very possible that, like, there's a priest or whatever per space, a guardian per space. I almost wonder if this is, like, kind of similar to, again, a Kari Bear situation where, like, he was the one person or anchor for the Loom of Fate, and there was, like, that subspace that he was a part of, and it was kind of like his cognitive domain, basically. I almost wonder if this is similar. If that's the case, then I kind of feel like that would be Zeitland's role in all of this. But again, time and space are inseparable. And since Mondstadt is the land of the Thousand Winds, it makes sense for a priest of the Thousand Winds to exist here in some capacity. For all we know, she could be the caretaker of the sanatorium and also the leader to take care of, like, the entryway to the Temple of Space. Sorry, I'm trying to read chat because I'm very bad about reading chat. Isn't there a fourth moon? Yeah, it's Columbina. But that's like a Hecate situation, right? Where you have a triple goddess who is actually one goddess. So we had Arya, Sonnet, and Canon, but effectively they dissolved their bodies and fused themselves together to form Columbina. That's not exactly what happened, but like that's effectively what happened because all of their authorities, their power, and everything else was given to Columbina. So like the three became one. So there is a fourth moon, but the fourth moon is also all three moons. If that makes sense. So that's kind of the same thing with like Hecate's, right? Hecate is a triple-faced goddess because she has three forms, but she is a single goddess under a single name. That's basically Columbina's deal. So yes, there are 4 moons, but in this case, the fourth moon still only has the trilunar authority. There isn't a quadrilunar authority, right? The fourth moon was never given her own authority. She has to use the complete authority of the other 3. Zeitlin's looking for someone, her sister Asmodee. It's possible. I mean, for Istaroth to send down another fragment of 1,000 winds in order to be looking for Asmodee, that's possible. But this sound, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical. I'm a little skeptical of this, just a little bit. Yeah, it's Historia that made me think there's like priests for individual spaces. Yeah, I'm a little skeptical of that actually being Istaroth, but I think that like thematically speaking, we could think of her as Istaroth. So whatever journey or story or whatever she takes us on, it's probably going to be applicable to Istaroth in a slightly different way. That would be my guess. Does Arlecchino have some connection to space with the creepy hands? They look a lot like her constellation. I would say no. She has a connection to the Crimson Moon, but the Crimson Moon is the root of the authorities that time, space, life, and death shades have. So, yesn't, I guess. Yesn't. Yesn't, yeah. Paimon having a... Oh, Raven, thank you for the super. Sorry for that. I got a little excited. Paimon having a sixth finger is just a refuge in Audacity. They're telling Paimon being an AI made is the correct... Okay. I don't know what refuge in Audacity means because the only Audacity I know is an audio recording program. But they're telling us Paimon being AI made is the correct theory. I would buy that. I would buy that. The Watcher reminds you of what's his face from the Stereo Kevin's variant. Oh, you mean Iron Tomb. The Demiurge. Well, not the Demiurge, but kind of the Demiurge. They're both kind of like the Demiurge. I have new theories about Paimon. But actually, seeing this made me realize that I actually do have to do my Alice theory now. That is a requirement. So that'll probably... I'm going to be using this world quest as an excuse to make the Alice theory a reality. Because it might be provable now. I'm still floored by this absolute sea of cubes, though. How much data is she storing? This is a crazy amount of data. Like, one thing we don't know is whether or not these spaces are cognitive spaces or actual physical spaces. Because one theory I had, yeah, I've put it in the next video I'm putting out, but it's relevant here. One theory I had is that, like, because the Abyss, when it attacks nations, or in Natlan's case, different tribes, because it uses, like, this really customized way to attack different nations, or it takes a unique form in each nation, I started to wonder if that was because we had a Durin situation on our hand, wherein, like, how to explain this? You know how the old story of Durin was trying to replace the new story because, like, Teyvat was trying to self-correct? Because there can only be one story at any given time. So it was trying to like overtake him. I was thinking about that and wondering if it was possible, if the heavenly principles, when they took over to that, if they deleted or tried to discard certain aspects of each nation. And those aspects, because they were discarded or thrown away or are no longer true, right? They were not chosen. They are now abyssal. And so as the abyss is trying to self-correct, right? Like that's trying to self-correct the same way an abyssal Durin dragon was trying to self-correct. It's possible that the reason why it's taking on a unique shape to that nation is because it was originally from that nation. You know, like forbidden knowledge, for example, is unique to Sumeru probably because whatever it was originally belonged in Sumeru and was discarded. It's just a thought. I'm thinking about it. Question. Can Eon abilities and appearance do... Wait, what? Can Eon abilities and appearance what can do based on path and person become that type-specific path Eon? What that person instead of the original become Eon? I don't understand this sentence. I'm sorry. Also, that sounds very Star Rail, which we're not talking about today. A friend told me he saw on Twitter that the Abyss twin is literally the twin that we didn't choose at the start, e.g. the choice that wasn't made. Yeah, exactly. Which does make you wonder if Conria is also part of a story that was not chosen, right? Like a timeline that wasn't chosen. Or made up of all things that were not chosen. Right? That means Ruka has become part of the Abyss. Well, she always was. She was infected with forbidden knowledge, right? So when we erased her from Irminsul, she would have become Abyssal. Actually, that kind of gives us some credence to the idea that there might be two trees, one going up and one going down. Because Ruka Devata at that point would be the tree going down. Nahida would be the tree going up. Huh. I hadn't considered that. What do you think about Geo actually being light and Zhongli being the sun? Zhongli has a lot of solar references to him, but you can actually say the same for a lot of the gods, actually. I know A's name means shadow, but she has a lot of parallels to Amaterasu, who would be, or Amaterasu, depending on how you want to pronounce that. So that's like a Japanese sun goddess. Because of a very... So I think that yesn't. I think solar deities are just very important deities generally to the civilizations that they belong to. So like in the case of Sumeru, that would be Deshret. Deshret is supposed to be Ra in a lot of scenarios. Or Horus, either way. Same situation. You're looking at sun gods. So like... I think you can even make the same case for Remus if you dig a little. That's possible. It's really difficult to make it for Nouvelette. It's really difficult to make it for Egeria, granted. You can kind of make it for Ruka Devata, but also not really. You could argue Enlightenment, though, but that's not really sun. That's not the point. I don't think... This is going to bite me in the ass, but I don't think Zhongli is that special. I think he's special. I don't think he's that special. I think when we think of him as like Heaven's star, right? Stars are suns. They're the same thing, technically, right? The difference between a star and a sun is that one has a planet. And as far as we know, most stars have something orbiting them, which make most stars suns. But I think the more interesting thing to me is that Zhongli is associated with gold. And he's the god of rock, but he's also the god of gold. His blood makes the metal gold, right? And gold is produced during stellar nuclear synthesis, which is what happens at the core of a star. So I think of him more as the product of a sun than the sun himself. That is a weird silhouette for Navia. The sun isn't a planet? I didn't say it was a planet. I said the difference between a sun and a star is that one of them has something orbiting it, like a planet. That's the difference. You didn't hear half of that? What? Oh dear, did my internet cut out? I'm sorry. They are installing fiber on my road. Hopefully I'll get it eventually. But my internet's been really uncooperative lately. Like, really uncooperative. I might even just, this might be part of the problem. I might have to lower quality just a little bit. Oh, I buffered in the middle of my sun god description. Okay. Sorry. I don't know what part, I don't know what part, I didn't say. Wait, that you didn't hear. Sorry about that. Why do I dislike Little Miss Twilight Purple Cabbage Nahita's sister so much? I'm not going to say anything because that is going to be someone's favorite character in the whole game. And I'm going to keep my opinions to myself. Yeah, I mean, make your own opinion. She's not to my taste. I think that is fair. That's fair to say. I think I can say that. I think I can say that. I think part of it is the fact that I'm really old and I've seen that design before. Like, a lot. I have fatigue. And maybe a little bit of early internet trauma. Spent way too many of my middle school years on DeviantArt. Yeah. That's not. She Looks Millie Astro Wonderland. It has a little bit of that flavor. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure someone, that character is made for someone specifically. That someone's not me, but it's made for somebody. It's made for somebody. So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. She looks like the girl in Teen Titans, a purple outfit and the white skin. I can look up Smite God reveals 4 pronunciations for what? That's not specific, and therefore not that helpful. Anyway, every character is made for a certain demographic. So we'll leave her at that. It is interesting that she is a Hexen Circle hater. That's or at least not really a Hexen Circle hater, but she seems to have beef with Alice at the very least. So my one hope is that I don't think Alice will show up here. Maybe she will. Maybe we'll get more actual Alice appearances from here on. We've already gotten quite a few. But it would be much funnier if it was Klee. I'm just saying. It would be so much funnier if it was just Klee. What's my take on Lowen? I'm very glad that they have made him uncensored, for lack of a better term. He's definitely different. He's like if Child was actually crazy instead of chill. But I also don't want to see the two of them in the same room. I feel like that might be a little unbearable. But he's chaotic, so that's kind of nice. It is a nice change of pace for Genshin. Hoyo was kind of played with that trope a little bit in some other games, but not in Genshin. So that's nice. I do want to say, one thing is that this is the Desert Pavilion. They called this quite literally the Desert Pavilion. I am wondering if the domains that we're going to go into here are actually the domains that we have in game. Like, because the Desert Pavilion is actually from this domain, right? The Desert Pavilion artifact set. And since they called this the Desert Pavilion, I'm just wondering, like, is this supposed to be related at all to this place? I'm just wondering. I know it doesn't look anything like that in here because this just says City of Gold. This isn't actually the Desert Pavilion. I'm just wondering if this might be where the Desert Pavilion originally was. Would be interesting. Carrie, thank you for the super. Do you think the tides the Moon Sisters stirred rose from the Dark Sea? It's hard to say because, like, the Dark Sea is just very undefined. Like, it says that the Dark Sea is anywhere that's not Teyvat. But the problem with that is that Teyvat is both a planet and a continent. So is it all of the places that is not a continent? Or is it all of the places that is not the planet? It's two very different things. And now looking at it, you could look at it like the ocean could have unexplored regions that are part of the Dark Sea. Like, technically, Enkanomiya should be part of the Dark Sea because that's where Orobashi fled. And he fled to the Dark Sea. But Enkanomiya is also, like, on the border of the Abyss. So, like, that's also considered a Dark Sea because it's a Dark Sea of abyssal power, right? And then also, space is called a Dark Sea. So, I don't know. It's too it's too vague. So essentially the domains we have right now are the leftovers of what Asmodee may have taken to make her domains in the Temple of Space. I mean, like, they all have the big red keys in them. What are they called? What are the big keys, the big red keys, the starting keys? I mean, like, are those not keys that have a big red cube on them? Are those not totally Asmodee coded? They even have the hold on. This is basically what the keys look like in the domain. Oh my god. Friggin' white background. It's big. Okay. This is what the keys look like in the domain, right? They're just red and purpley, right? They've got the cube on them. They've got eyes on either side, and most of Asmodee's cubes have eyes on them. So who's to say that all these domains that we fight in and stuff aren't just like where her space cubes are supposed to go? Maybe these are keys that unlock her treasure chest cubes. You know, maybe she just has all these, maybe all the cubes are lock boxes. I don't know. Is possible. Is possible. It also has eyes. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It has eyes. It's got the cube. It's got the color. Not this one, but it has the coloring. I guess the Natlan one's probably closest, but even that's not accurate. Need me to extract memories from the domains for the materials. Yeah, that's, yeah. Anyway. Am I saying the domains are all the spaces that she's preserved? I'm saying that they're like the space where the space she preserved should go. So like if you have a bookshelf that's full of books and you take out a book, I think the domain is that space the book was in, but the book is what she took. You see what I'm saying? That's a theory that needs fleshing out at some point. Or more investigation, or both. We'll see. The symbol of Asmodee's eyes are peacock eyes, and from what I found, they are associated with Nibelung. Each descender has an associated bird eye symbol. Yes. In this game, yes. Across all of Hoyo's games, it's a little different. I have made a whole video about this before. I went ham investigating that symbol. And actually, by the end of it, I basically said that it's a symbol of the Irminsul fruit. And the reason I said it that way was because they were supposed to represent chunks of memory, basically. Because Irminsul fruits are supposed to contain memories. And memories make up the world, which ended up being pretty true. So if you look across Hoyo's games now, because it's been a few years since I made that, what you'll find is that symbol pops up whenever you're talking about like data. Whether it's memories or like chaotic data or raw material, it's always representing of data. Like, for example, in Honkai Impact 3rd, it's representative of the Sea of Quanta, which is like a sea of endless possibilities. It's quite abyssal in nature. Abyssal-ish. In Star Rail, you'll find it associated quite a bit with Memoria. Similar kind of situation. Also with Quanta, though. But yeah, it's if you actually extend out the patterns, though, what you'll find is that they're actually circuit patterns. It's very close. Like if you start looking at the world formula, I have to like go do a thingy. I don't want to do the thingy. Poopy. I wanted to look at Sindroni's world formula, but I don't really want to go like digging for it. Anyway, if you look at her world formula, Sindroni's, what you'll find is that it is full of these symbols. They just happen to have an extra line in them to kind of connect the pieces. But in addition to serving as memory and stuff like that, it also does refer to an eye. But part of that is like alchemical philosophy that, please don't make me recite it from memory. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. Is to that like plain Arcadia world on canvas? It would explain the book world the Hexen Circle made. I think it's more accurate to compare it to Amphorius than world on canvas for now. That might change a little later. But either way, the world on canvas and the storybook that Amphorius became are very, very, very similar conceptually. Like, you could basically just like dial them down to their like most basic bullet points, like the highest level, and you would find an incredible amount of overlap. You know what I mean? So yeah. I mean, basically. My next video is about this, actually. We'll see how it ages after this next patch. Ugh. Arla Cheeks, thank you for the super. About Arle, her plans, Bina worrying about Arle and Abyss, new info about fate. Her whole theme of defying it reminds me of, I hope you won't be tainted by fate, the fate to feel. Any ideas about her future? What? I'm talking about like Columbina's voice lines. Is that what you're talking about? Doesn't sound the same. I think I'm not quite sure what you're from the Nod-Krai after they get the Crimson Marrow. Oh, I see. I think in this case it would be more about regrets, no? Because if you're talking about Abyss and things that are not chosen, you're talking about destinies that you never pursued or choices that you never made. And those are commonly equated to regrets. So that feels like a really convoluted way of saying, I hope you have no regrets. Also has the ability to reject memories, which is interesting. Did my stream die again? What? Maybe it's a YouTube thing because I don't have any dropped frames or anything. This is very strange. This might be a YouTube issue. That's really weird. It's okay, I didn't say anything of consequence. Yeah, I think this is a YouTube issue. I don't think this is on my end for once. Other instances, probably. I've actually been having a lot of issues with YouTube lately, just dropping my connection for no reason. Or just buffering for no reason. I'm sitting there going, what are you doing? I'm loading everything else just fine. Why are you buffering? What's going on? Not even looking at you at like 1440 or anything. I don't know. Anyway. How did Dvalin only break a window? Because he's a dragon that has no fixed size. We don't, yeah. I don't understand how Dvalin can be like the size of an entire city to the point where he can't find anywhere to land safely without breaking a windmill. And also the same size as like being able to allow a ton of people to ride on his back, no problem. But then also be small enough to go into a room in the Knights of Favonia's headquarters? And then enter a bubble? And then come out of the bubble and only break a small window? Like, size shifting. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. He's a cat. He's liquid. Yeah. Carrie, thank you for the super. Do you think the Moon Sisters had a non-human form at some point? I mean, I would assume so, based on the Nod-Krai teaser that we got at the start of the patch cycle. It looked like they had a different form at one point. I mean, we're not... I mean... I don't know how much I want to go into that. I think it's possible that the moons we saw aren't even, like, the real form of the moons, just how Columbina remembers them. Or maybe even just what's left of them. Because it is weird for them to have really human forms when they were made from a dragon. That is still very strange to me. Because it would imply that at one point, the world of Teyvat, prior to the Heavenly Principles, had humans on it. Either that or they took human shape after that. Like, it's very confusing. You know what I mean? So I'm not sure. Do I think Flynn's is lore relevant? I don't think Flynn's is any more or less lore relevant than Linnea is, honestly. We can talk about Linnea a little bit, though. Because, like, her backpack is fun. I do like her backpack. Because, I don't know if you guys read her drip marketing. I think they probably have it on the wiki now. Yeah, they probably have it in the wiki. There it is. Oh, this might not be the same one. Oh yeah, there it is. I just can't read. 6 different types of fae there are in Snezhnaya. Which is okay, this is interesting for 2 reasons for me. One, I'm not actually sure if all 6 types are, like, subsections of Snowland fae. Or if the Snowland fae is one of the 6. That's up for debate, I guess. The other thing that's interesting here is that, again, they reference 7 nations and 7 colors, but then they say there's 6 common types of fae, which could mean that there is 1 uncommon type of fae, or that there are 6 types of fae currently, and there used to be 7. But also, like, this does mimic the tribes of Natlan, right? Because there are 6 tribes but 7 elements, but we have 1 tribe that kind of has 2 elements, and then we found out that there was 1 tribe that was, like, the lost tribe. It went missing. So you have a repeating theme here. That means in Shania we're probably going to have a Natlan situation. But I would guess that Linnea is not the same type of fae as Flynn's. That would be my guess. Could Seelie be fae? Fae were made by Seelie and Hyperboreans. They were made by Koitar and the Hyperboreans. So, like, yes, kind of. They're of a Seelie lineage, but they are not Seelies themselves. Did they say one of her little friends was a common type? I must have missed that. Hold on, I'll turn the captions back on. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I guess not all types of fae would have to be humanoid. There is something about Linnea that is very Alice, though. I'm not just talking about her like long pointed ears, but like even her hair is very Alice, you know? And I was actually thinking like the way Alice does her hair up in the middle of her hat to make it look like she has feathers there. Actually, I'm not even sure if those are feathers or her hair, but it does remind me of Linnea's head wings. And also, like, the heart motifs she has, also very Alice. Which does make it seem like Alice is of the Fae lineage, right? Like, that would make sense to me. Do I think Voyager looks like a human and forged the Moon Sisters in her likeness? That was my initial theory. Yeah. But there's no way to prove it right now. Alice is the uncommon type of fae. It's possible. It's possible Alice is like the last of her type of fae. That's very possible. But it is worth noting that like Flynn's is probably one of the common types of fae because he's a Snowland fae and they're one of the ones that are best known, right? Like the Snowland fae used to make up, or even currently make up, Snezhnaya's court and noble system. Yep. So like, you know, he counts. What is the name of Flynn's fae type? He's a type of Slavic entity that's like equated with an undead vampire will-o-wisp thing. Hold on. I'm gonna go look it up. I can't remember it. I can't remember. But he's named after this guy who was like I'm reading this backwards. For no reason, really. I don't know why I'm reading this backwards. He's a will-o-wisp. Oh, the Arnie Valkea. Yeah, that one. I'm probably not saying that right. That sounds right, though. That sounds right. It was some will-o-wisp thing, but it had, like, connections to vampire stuff. Not, like, literally to, you know, Vlad the Impaler era vampire stuff, but I'm talking, like the original core vampire mythos that birthed the modern vampire kind of thing. The large supply of orphan children in Tibet, could a number of them be human babies swapped with changelings? That is a very questionable thing that they're doing there. Yeah, I was wondering about that. Because it says we have to, like, do Linnea's quest to find out more about her, but I'm sitting here like, are you guys arguing for... what is that? Oh. Sorry. My dog is digging against my house. And I thought there was like a mouse scratching against something, but no, my dog's outside scratching the outside of the house, not the door, the house. She has to have found there's probably something in the yard. I think she chased it under the house. Okay, it's fine. I was confused for a moment. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I don't remember where they said this. Is he? Oh, yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's what. See, I couldn't remember. I can't remember this. The Volcano one sounds familiar too, though. That has to have been something. I remember reading about it, but I don't remember what I read. I am cursed. No, you're right. You're right. Thank you for remembering. Yes. Rise from the dead. Flynn's is much hotter than this, but whatever. It's not a skunk. I would know if it was a skunk at this point. I've had one trapped in the yard before. That was a trip. Fenris kept chasing it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it didn't know how to get out of the yard. And I couldn't get Fenris away from it. And it was like 20 minutes of her just reeking and getting sprayed by this terrified skunk who could not find its way out of the yard. But you wouldn't get any closer to it. She was just chasing it back and forth. She was like, this is so much fun. No, I'd smell it by now. Clee's dad's name was dropped in 1.0. Yesent? That's like a whole nother thing. It's like a whole nother thing. This does mean that Linnea would be raised by human parents, though, right? That she's not related to. Noxes, thank you for this super. Hoyoverse, give me playable Sheamus in my life. In my life is yours. Thank you, mean, and my life is yours. But yeah, give you playable Sheamus in your life. Seamus? Seamus. That one. That sounds better. It's a theory that he's KK. I mean, it's possible. It's very possible. I wouldn't be surprised if he's not. I have slightly mixed feelings about it. Just because there seems to be a lot of outsiders into that. And I feel like that kind of goes against this narrative we've had about this planet being really isolated. You know what I mean? Like, it's not actually that isolated. There's a lot of outsiders here. You know? And none of them are really doing anything. Like, if this planet is so, like, destitute and, like, on the verge of destruction and there's all, like, what are all these outsiders? Are they just here to watch? Are we just spectating? Is Alice just like, oh, this place is great for the next, like, 200 years to raise my daughter, and then we'll go to another one? Like, is that what this is? Does she look at this, like, boarding school? Like, I don't get it. I'm very confused. It is a... I guess it's just some cognitive dissonance I have. I'm sure there's a reason that they'll explain for it eventually. But one thing I will say is that we have currently a voyager, a traveler, a wanderer, and a seeker. Are there any other Urs we should know about? Because, like, oh, wait, no, I forgot. Skirk is a trespasser. And I guess you could call them all Outlanders. I don't know. There's something about Voyager, Traveler, and Seeker that I'm looking at, like, this feels very much like... like a sort of faction, like a rogue faction in space of people who look for, you know, that scout the outskirts of live galaxies or something. Right? Like how Voyager was basically like a her job was essentially to like go through and catalog all the dying worlds remotely. And then a seeker sounds kind of similar to what Voyager does. I mean, like, he must be out there looking for something, and Voyager was looking for something. She was looking for signs of life, or at least records that she could salvage. And then the travelers were presumably looking for home. I know Wanderer doesn't count, but he's like an allegory for these things on Tibet. Like, he's not meant to be special in that way. He's in the same way Durin is an allegory for Nibelung. I see Wanderer as an allegory for like the Voyager traveler seeker archetype, if that makes sense. Anyway, Chaser, yeah. But yeah, so what is his name? Is his name Kleiner? Was that what it? That sounds right. Kleiner sounds right. Descender, yeah. Does that mean Nibelung might come back? Yes. I don't know what you just heard to make you ask that question. I don't know if you're up to date or if you're behind. VTuber. Okay, yeah. I know all the ers. I'm making an isms joke. I don't think any of you have actually seen the British comedy show Thin Blue Line, but there's like a bunch of police who are training, and the training coach is just like, an ism has never hurt anybody. And then the first thing any of the recruits are is just like, oh, what about racism, sexism, terrorism? And she's like, okay, maybe some isms have hurt people. That's my urge. Anyway, that was just made specifically for me. It's fine. An inside joke for one. Kaya's Nibelung reincarnation stays strong. I mean, that's another yesent, isn't it? It's another yesent. I do think we'll see the return of Nibelung, but not the Nibelung that once was. I think we'll get a new Nibelung. That's what I think. So, yes, return of Nibelung. No, not the resurrection of the original one. Yeah? Yeah. That's what I think. Can we get a new Senora? It does feel well past due for resurrecting a Senora, doesn't it? I'm not sure they're going to... Look, if they're going to resurrect Senora, the last chance they have to do this is in Snezhnaya. That is the last possible time they could do this. Because that's where her body is, right? Her coffin isn't, well... I guess body is very loose of a term here because A kind of turned her into ashes that I don't think were ever actually recovered. But she has a coffin in Snezhnaya. So that's like the last chance to resurrect her if they're gonna. I'm not optimistic. I'm really not. I'm really not optimistic for it. Yellow trees are blocky. That's odd. Yeah, I mean, you're in a cube space. Everything here is made of cube. Look at it. Look at it. Like, if we play this in reverse, like, she just swallows things and then reverts them into different cubes. You know? Everything is cube. So the interesting thing about Genshin, there's a lot of interesting things, but when it comes to cubes, like the fact that Asmodee stores so much stuff in cubes, It reminds me a lot of Alchemy's Prima Materia, because the Prima Materia takes the shape of a cube. Like, it's generally represented by a cube. In the sky, by the way, just like these, which is actually why I took this video clip. I took this video clip specifically because it was like a literal representation of the Prima Materia as we see it in alchemical depictions, right? And that's why I wanted it. So when I think about it that way, and then you think about like elemental energy as being the building blocks of the world, right? Like, you could argue that the whole world is fundamentally made of cubes, because everything in the world should be made of the prime material, which is the prima materia, right? Which is cube. And since Genshin focuses so heavily on alchemy, it just kind of makes sense. And what is a diamond but a, tilted cube? You know? Yeah. Wasn't Simulanka very cubey too? That's where that clip is from. It's from Simulanka. All things reverting to cube. Is literally supposed to be a representation of the original Durin turning everything that he touched into abyss, which should give you some pause for consideration on what that might mean. Do you think it's possible for the Fatui to get Signora's memories from the ley lines and then pull a Dottore? Pull a Dottore as in, like, put her mind into a new body? Maybe. But you'd be getting a different person, basically. Alice took Asmodee's fate. It's possible. I think there is a stronger connection than ever between Alice and Asmodee. I do think that. Whether or not it's supposed to be an allegorical one or a literal one, we'll have to wait and see. Because it is interesting, right? That, like, Alice considers herself the protector of the world's borders, and Asmodee is literally the guardian of the boundary. It's kind of, Does that mean Klee is Asmodee's new master since Alice loves Klee the most? I guess it would really depend on... It would depend on many things. Not impossible, but... Yeah. Who's Asmodee's new master? We don't know. I saw someone in chat suggest that it could be Dottore, which is, like, up until this point, I've never seen anyone suggest that. So that's a new one. And, like, on the one hand, it does make sense here. Because there are some visual similarities between these Asmodee angel watchers and Dottore. But on the other hand, you could equally argue that Dottore is trying to make themselves into the heavenly principles. And so the watchers may resemble the heavenly principles more so than Asmodee. And that might be why they look so similar. Right down to the circuitry pattern, by the way. So, like, I think there's merit to the idea, but I just don't think it's meant to be taken literally. I'm not sold on that yet. What's my theory on why the Frost Moon got a new maiden while the other moons didn't? I've said this a few times. It's because the new maiden is all 3 maidens combined into 1 maiden. That's why she has 6 wings. There's 2 for each one. If I'm honest though, I think I still think that it's possible that the Traveler is Asmodee's new master. I do think that's still my preferred option. Is it the most plausible one? I don't know. Currently, it's my preferred one for reasons. 710, thank you for this super. Did Asmodee have a hand in the Fontaine Research Institute? No. Those cubes, the water cubes in the Fontaine Research Institute were caused by an issue with the oh, what's the big gravity device? They were trying to make the entire nation of Fontaine float because they figured if they could raise the whole thing into the sky, the flood couldn't reach them. And so they created a gravity device, and the gravity device went haywire, and that's why all those cubes are there. So it's very possible that the Fontaine Research Institute succeeded in replicating a power that produced a similar phenomenon to what Asmodee does, but at like a much smaller scale. It's if I remember correctly, it's the oh my goodness. Is it? Oh no, not that. What is? It's not Arceum, but I mean Arceum is related to this. I was looking for the boss that I can't remember the name of. Oh, there's too many things. I want the boss. I think it's in here. Wait, no, not you. This thing. The experimental field generator. This thing. This was part of it. They were trying to make it rise with this thing, and it uses Arceum to shatter the shackles of the earth. Yeah. They're trying to use this to raise all of Fontaine into the sky. It didn't work. And there's more to it, but like this is kind of like the oversimplified version here. Yeah. The jumpy mech. Yeah, the jumpy mech. The big jumpy mech, not the small one. I mean, like, it's worth pointing out, like, this thing has, like, a black hole at its center. Like, it produces, like, literally produces a gravity field. Like, that's what its job is. Yeah. The Arceum in the device's core has the characteristics of splitting or precipitation, and it can take matter or certain things outside of matter and separate them. And this is interesting in the context of the cubes and the relationship to Asmodee, because Asmodee does what? She separates space from other space. That is what her power is. She has the power of drawing boundary lines, essentially. Anyway, so that's part of what this is. And yes, this is technically also supposed to reference a fusion reactor, or sorry, not a fusion reactor, a fission reactor. Edwin Eastinghouse is supposed to be a reference to Westinghouse, which is right here, the Westinghouse Electric Corporation, I believe, which was had something to do with nuclear reactors. Yeah. They were a major supplier of generators and steam turbines for most of their history, and were also a major player in the field of nuclear power, starting with the Westinghouse Atom Smasher in 1937. Yeah, that's what this was supposed to be. Levi's whining at me, and I'm going to throw him outside real quick. Hold on. What about that, buddy? I'm sorry. He was just laying there looking so sad. And every now and again, he'd let out this long, very audible sigh. He's like, oh, I'm gonna sigh. He'll want to come in like 10 minutes. They can't keep getting away with names like Eastinghouse and Anders' daughter. They'll get away with more than that, I'll tell you that. They get away with a lot. They get away with a lot. How would the Traveler be Asmodee's new master? It is contingent on Asmodee being related to Paimon. But I'm pretty sure it's a doable proof, actually. I'm gonna prove it twice in a row. I'm gonna relate. I wrote one related proof, and I'll write a second one. And by proof, I don't mean I'm gonna make it a fact. I mean proof as in like I'm gonna write a theory. Proof as in I'm going to try and prove my point. I may not, but I'm gonna try. How? Very long, very complicated. You just have to assume that there are 3 Asmodees. If you assume that there are 3 Asmodees, the math checks out. Because you need 3. 3 is the correct number. Some of you will put the pieces together really quickly, and some of you will have no idea what I'm talking about. Both of those reactions are completely understandable and valid, and let's not go into the details of them, but you need 3. 3 deadly selves? Oh, hey, I didn't even consider the deadly selves, but yeah, I mean, like, it would, it could operate under that principle. I don't know if it would be literally in this case, but it's similar concept. Again, rule of 3 but 4. Yes, there needs to be 3 because there needs to be room for a 4th. There cannot already be a 4th. There has to be room for a 4th. Yeah. You don't think I have to go that far? We've seen from Nahida that when a god expands their power, they can regress into a childlike form. So Paimon being Asmodee isn't that much of a reach. If you want to allude to time travel, then yes, you are correct. However, it's still the same thing in that you need 3 instances in existence at the same time for this to work. Like, there needs to be 3 instances of the entity for the theory to work. It doesn't... They all need to be present within the same kind of scope of things. So it doesn't matter if, like, it's because of regression. It doesn't matter if it's because of time travel. There just needs to be 3 instances. Does that make sense? Like, there needs to be 3 forms. Doesn't matter how you get them. Asmodee is also the 4th shade, and the Traveler is also the 4th descender. Coincidence? Yes. Because the shades aren't actually numbered. I mean, if you want to go for coincidences, I can make a pretty good case that Nibelung married Istaroth at one point. If you really want to go down that route, we can go down that route. I don't want to, though. That sounds like it's going to be a long and painful discussion. It is possible. Like, you can make an argument for a lot of things. The question is whether or not you want to make the argument for those things. We need to go down this route. Do we have to? I'm not okay. We'll do it, but we're gonna go into this like super lightly, okay? Like, we're gonna go super shallow, cause we're gonna go into this real light. I ain't going into this super deep, okay? We're just not doing it. I don't wanna. Hold on. Where is my thing? Where are the cards? I always forget what the cards are called. What are the cards called? What are the tarot cards called? I can't remember. Lunar Arcana. Oh my god. Like, what are the tarot cards called? Arcana. Yeah, okay. Like, I just in my head, they're just like, these are tarot cards, and I don't think to call them Arcana. Even though that should be the most logical of all assumptions. Okay. So, the shades are present, except for Asmodee, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, there's no Asmodee, is there? Because there's Death with Renova. Hold on. Because, okay. This one is Rhine-Daughter. So this is Nefarious, right? Because you have Albedo here. And then as you go down, there is an Istaroth. And I guess maybe the Hanged Man. I guess that would be as close as you'd get. Renova for Death. And then yeah, so we have time, death, life, but no space. Unless you want to count the Hanged Man, which I guess you could. Okay, this is actually the one I wanted, though. This is the one I wanted. Okay. So, Istaroth is interesting because the way that she gets talked about as giving birth to herself, right? She talks about there's no meaning in this world within an eggshell. Fortune we speak, 14 billion years of darkness. Like, she's talking about things that happened, you know, forever and ever and ever ago. Like, it sounds like even though she would have been born long after the world started, like, it sounds like she's been born at the start of time. In the Tales of the Far North, they call her the mother who gave birth to herself, which again implies that she's not a creation of the primordial one, or the heavenly principles rather. She is someone who made herself and then was subjugated or whatever by the heavenly principles. I'm not saying that's exactly what happened, but that's kind of like how this sounds. And looking at how sad she is, and then this clock down here and stuff like that, and how many different cycles of the moons there are and whatnot, Istaroth doesn't feel like the other shades. She feels a little different. So in Anders' daughter's stories, she tells this one story. I think it's this one. Is it not this one? Crap. I might have to go open a document instead to go find it. Is it not this one? Oh, no, it is this one. It's right here. I swore it was this one. All right, tell me what you see over here on the left. You see dragon? Yes? You see melancholic lady cradling a clock. with long golden hair. You see Dragon Man, you see long golden lady. do you see? Do you see? So what happens if this is supposed to be like a fairy tale interpretation of a Nibelung, and this is supposed to be a fairy tale interpretation of an Istaroth? Yes? Yeah? This is viable. Because when we talk about Gnosticism, we can also talk about, you know, like the Gnostic creation myth. And yes, Phanes comes into that. Phanes has long been the name of the primordial one, or the only one that we have, at least. But before Phanes were the twin draconic entities, Kronos Ion and Ananke. Now, Ananke is also known as fate or inevitability. And so if you look at her in terms of like the god of time, or like the keeper of the world's story, if you will, the keeper of the world's time, it kind of suits her. But Kronos Ion in this case would be Nibelung, although he is technically time. It's supposed to be time and inevitability. Right? And they were both supposed to be dragon serpent entities that gave birth to the cosmic egg that birthed Phanes, the creation deity, who then birthed the world. So like this is not impossible. I don't want to say it's probable. I don't want to say that's exactly what they're going for. I don't even want to say that this is what they're actually going to reference. All I want to say is that it's not outside the realm of possibility. Because like the vibes, right? The vibes are just I don't know how to explain it, but the vibes are vibing. Remember, you mentioned that Asmodeus' cube seems to be associated with Nibelung. Both Renova and Naberius are also shown with the symbol, but not Istaroth. I wonder if there's relevance there. Also worth noting is that Istaroth, Renova, and Naberius all have triketras on them, but Asmodee does not. So like there is something here that's weird with the shades. Although in that case, the weird one is Asmodee, not Istaroth. However, I have argued in the past that Asmodee has the closest relationship to Nibelung. What form that relationship takes, I don't know. It could be that she could be in a position where she loved the world that he made as much as he did, and that's why she seeks to preserve it instead of letting it turn into the abyss. It could be that she is a remnant from that era. It could be that she's going to serve a similar role in the future. It could be that she just happens to have a power that is quite similar to what his natural power would be. Like a power of boundary, separating the light from the dark, you know, like a god would. It's hard to say, but it's interesting to think about. Asmodee has a Solomon's knot on her back as well. Yes, I know. I have made 3 videos about that. A little overkill at this point. To be fair, they were all about different things, but they were all using that as an important point. And I'm gonna make a 4th one. Because I can. And no one can stop me. You thought space and time were married? Yeah, that's kind of what I mean. Like, that's kind of what I'm saying when I say, like, Asmodee has the relationship closest to Nibelung. When I talk about it that way, with her ability to create boundaries separating the light from the dark and everything else, like she's basically has the ability to separate out order from the chaos almost. It's kind of what the cubes represent. Cubes usually represent an ordered form. It's part of the reason why they're related to the prima materia. in alchemy. It's because it's supposed to make sure it's supposed to like represent order. Hence Zhongli's I will have order kind of thing. And if you look at it that way, then like Asmodee inherits some key aspects of Nibelung that are reflected in the relationship between time and space. This is why I didn't this is why I didn't really want to go into it too deeply. Because it kind of gets messy fast. Okay, it gets messy fast. So Nibelung married Istaroth and Asmodee? No. It's not what I said. I said originally time and space are married as concepts, not that Istaroth is married to Asmodee. That is not what I said. Time defines space. Space defines time. So if you ask me, if Genshin is going for a how to put this? If Genshin is going for a more like true to Gnostic origins reference for Tevat, then if they give Ananke the power of time and fate, right, as one entity, which makes sense, they can't also have Kronos Ion, or Nibelung in this case, also be time. So he would have to be the other inseparable concept, which is space. You see what I'm saying? Wait, who married who now? There's no marriage going on. There's no marriage. There's no marriage in the Gnostic myths. It's just cosmic copulation. Because they make an egg. And the egg is the world. And Phaenus is the light that kickstarts the life of creation, being like Phaenus is the light that kickstarts the process of creation. He is not a creator god in and of himself. He just is the first among the creations. If that makes more sense. But that's just from a Gnostic standpoint. I'm only making this point here. This may not be relevant at all. Okay? This could be not at all what they're going for. This is entirely vibe-based theory crafting, okay? Apart from the fact that Genshin references Gnosticism and the little things I've just shown you, there's nothing to allude to or support the idea that I just presented. Not a thing. So take it all with a grain of salt. You asked me to share it. I shared it. That's it. That's how we go. Cyrus Gold, thank you for the super. Istaroth's clocks point to 1:55 p.m. Interesting. Who laid the egg? The egg is a product of the union of time and inevitability. It's not my fault you guys take things literally. It's really not. I'm not liable for this. Okay. Well, anyway. I can prove it, though. I can prove the vibes. I will prove the vibes. It's vibeable. It's viable. Vibes-based viability. Vibeable. That's not a good word. I take that word back. What's going to happen to Malwika's Gnosis? That is an extremely random question. No one knows. But okay, you know, the one... Never mind. I'm not gonna do it. We're not gonna do it. I won't do it. It's not gonna happen. I will not. Will not. Honkai Impact third successor for a reason? I would argue it's Hokai Gakuen second's successor more than Honkai Impact third. Honkai Impact third goes directly into Honkai Star Rail. I kind of feel like Hokai Gakuen is closer to Genshin than Honkai Impact is. But I also do think that Hoyo is trying to put them all in the same multiverse scenario. You guys want to see something else that's kind of funny? Behold the cosmos! You want to talk about, like, things that make your head hurt? Start here. These are called super voids. Well, the space between these fractals are called super voids, or voids, cosmic voids. The big ones are called super voids. The interesting thing is that these little fractally things are called filaments, and they're like areas where dense spaces of galaxies and stuff like that exist. Like they're like star clusters. Yeah. So like you can kind of see they've sort of mapped out where clusters of galaxies and stars and other things that exist are. And these are called the filaments. And then these voids are all these spaces in between. I don't know. Now when I think about space and Genshin and Hoyoverse creating a giant thing, I'm just like, look! It's the universe, the multiverse, and all of these little fractally things are the imaginary tree, and then the space in between them is all sea of quanta. That is all. The cube is just a suggestion, right? Yeah. No, the cosmos isn't actually a cube. It's just funny that that's how it's depicted. And also, it's a void, like the Hersher of the void. Like the shade of the void of space. Okay. I just think it's funny, okay? Obviously, the universe takes the shape of a giant human head. Because all those filaments are neurons, right? Yeah. I just realized this isn't actually playing. Carrie, thank you for this super. Forget the pyronosis. Will they ever reveal the censored name in the gemstone? I feel like I saw some pretty good theories as to it, but like, probably not. I really think that the name was supposed to be more important than it actually was. God, what did it even say? It said, if the intention yet remains achieved, blank's truth he has. Don't know. Don't know. I never said it outright. Like, I've heard some pretty good hypotheses and a couple of things where it kind of sounds like they alluded to, like, who it was. But what I think about Jean's dad, he works in the church. That is the extent to which I think of him. I do wonder if that last line will be something they address when we get the Gnosis eventually. He looks very Honkai-versy. He looks just like his comic version, but maybe slightly younger in game. I wonder if they have. Yeah. They made him look older in the comic compared to this. He got waifued. I mean, look at him. He actually looks like you know, an older bishop in these images, and then they did this to him. He opened his eyes for one thing. Very strange. Don't tell me there'll be a Natland part 2. I don't know that there'll be a part 2, but I'm sure there will be a follow-up. You know, like a post-quest kind of thing. I don't think he'll be playable, though. His textures are too flat. Yes, I'm judging based on how flat his textures are. I think he's just gonna stay an NPC. It's an NPC face model as well. It's getting a little harder to tell with the NPC faces, because he does have really unique eyes compared to other NPCs, but like they've really been upgrading their custom NPCs so that they feel, I think, more in line with like what the playable characters are like. So now we almost have like 3 categories of NPCs, where there's like our standard NPCs, then there's the upgraded NPCs, and then there's playable characters. And Seamus seems to fall like right in that upgraded category. Like he's not the standard NPC, so he's not unimportant, but I don't think he's gonna be playable. Like Kuchiba, yeah, he's similar to that. DLSS 5 NPCs. Yeah. ZZZ style. Yeah, ZZZ does custom NPCs really well, but the problem with ZZZ is that like a lot of their custom NPCs are so close to playable models that they may as well be. I'll never forgive them for not giving us a playable Elfie. I'll never forgive them. You feel like the eyes are easy to model since they're 2D graphics overlaid on a pre-existing model? Yeah, they are, but it is still a choice to give them unique eyes, you know? Because there is like a standard eye design that they use for NPCs. I'm not talking about the shape. I'm talking about like the actual the design of the iris. Like he actually has a unique design for the iris. So it's not so much that it's like difficult to do. It's just like they made the choice to paint his eyes in that way. That's all. Older, less textured hair than recent playable characters, though. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, is like his textures are too flat to be playable. That's my thing. Oh, I don't know. I don't know that I have much else to say. Linnea looks cute. I hope anyone who just got Zebai is looking to pick up Linnea, because they look like they play well together. That's going to be a really interesting team. I wonder what your 4th slot would be. I guess it would be Alua, right? I guess they're doing Navia here. I don't have Navia either. Oh, yeah. Zebai, Columbina, Alua, and Linnea. Yeah. That seems to be like the primo lunar crystallized team, huh? Linnea reminds me of that one race in Xenoblade. Oh, yeah. Shoot, what are they called? Now that I'm trying to think of it, I can't friggin' remember her name. The one who got Dumped. I forgot her name. It begins with an M. That much I remember. I mean, she looks interesting. I'm more interested in the lore of her bow, though. Because, like, I'm wondering if we'll get some rundown of, like, Fae stuff in her bow. If so, that'll be, like, our primary source for a while, I think. Did we ever get confirmation on whether or not the wings on the back of Columbina's head are actual wings? Or if they're just her hair clip? I think they're just a hair clip. Melia! Yes! Her! Thank you. What do I think the nature of the sun of Tevat is? We saw it from the moon. I think it's hot. It is hot and bright. Is it dying? Also, maybe. All stars die out eventually. The only thing is, like, if the sun is dying, there is 0 point in trying to keep that planet going where it is the way it is. Like, they should be looking to try and move it or to move people off of it. And, like, it's kind of frustrating in some ways because, like, the dragons did have a space program. They were trying to go to space. And then the Heavenly Principles was like, no. No space for you. You stay here. So, like, if they really cared about life on this planet, would they not, like, let them leave? There's always a chance that the sun is also fake. It is possible. The dragons had a space program is a wild thing to hear out of context. Yeah. I mean, half this game is bizarre out of context, though. Like, be real. Half this game is, like, hysterically bizarre. I think the thing that confuses me is that Columbina's moon is supposed to be inside of the false sky. Because, like, it kind of has to be. Otherwise, you're basically telling us that you can enter and exit the firmament at will. And that's odd. Not impossible, but it's odd, I think. So either her moon is outside the firmament and she's looking at the real sun, and somehow the firmament of the planet is completely transparent, which I also don't buy. Or she's inside the firmament and the sun is either also in the firmament, or the firmament and the false sky aren't the same thing. Like, maybe the firmament itself can let you see out, but there's a secondary cloud barrier that makes it look like there's a fake sky, like an inside screen. Do you know what I mean? So you've got one-way glass on the outside and then a, like, Vegas orb screen on the inside. It only makes sense if her moon is in the firmament, though, which means you can either see out of the firmament or the sun is also in the firmament, in which case, holy shit, that thing's huge. You know? I don't know which it is. So it is weird to me. Like, I can't tell if it's just, like, a challenge of artistic direction or if they're being really intentional with the way that they're presenting it. I don't know which it is, so I don't know how to talk about it. You just assume the sun was an image on the firmament? I mean, like, if it is, then, you know... it'd be a weird choice to project a dying sun. Unless the status of the sun is, like, a health indicator of the world, and the sun will, like, get better if the world gets better. Like a pop-up thermometer on a turkey. I think the pillars in the game's start menu are like LED bulbs in the firmament of the fake sky. Listen, I no longer understand how the hell this planet is structured, okay? I have zero idea. It's so friggin' weird, okay? Like, hold on. Like, okay, hold on. We have a little planet here, okay? This is Tevat, okay? Hi. No. This is Tevat, okay? Now, Tevat presumably has a upside down tree that does this, okay? It does this, presumably. This is a tree, okay? These are like cherry blossoms. Okay. These are like the root system. Well, it ruined my brush size. Okay. There's root system, okay? Got a little... This is Irminsul, okay? Hold on. I'm gonna... The face is gonna confuse things. Hold on. Okay. And the reason why I do this is because there is abyss goo in here. Okay, there's abyss goo in here in the center of the earth. Rah! And the roots of the tree go all the way into the abyss, okay? So presumably it looks something like this. And then outside there's like... Where's my brush size? Okay, well, there's lots of abyss out here. Okay, this is abyss. Okay, lots of abyss. And then like apparently you have like a firmament that's like way out here. Okay, this is the firmament. Okay, and at some point you have like a cloud barrier. And then you have the frost moon like here. But like this cloud barrier is like permeable and like you can see through it this way, but you can't see through it that way, but like it's only visible sometimes, but not all the time. Like it's like exists in half measures. So like it's like kind of semi there, but not actually there, but also kind of. So then where is the sun? You know what I mean? Like, this is presumably how this world is structured, and I don't understand. Because, like, in theory, based on the lore that we have, like, there should be lots of little crystalline fruits that make up the stars of the sky. So, like, Irminsul is supposed to have, like, all of these stars. So maybe Irminsul is the cloud barrier, but even that wouldn't make sense, because then why wouldn't Nahida and Rukkhadevada know where Asmodee's friggin' storage unit is? Right? So, like, the cloud barrier has to be something else. So the stars are, like, below the clouds. Like, I don't understand. Oh, yeah, and then there's the moon projection. So, like, the moon, the projection of the moon is, like, over here. Well, you know what? Like, instead of doing whole moons, we should just, like, actually draw them as... Here's the frost moon. Okay. And here's the fake moon. Okay. So where is the sun? Is the sun out here? Or is the sun in here? This looks like the creepiest eye in the world. Well, the projection is like fading away. Like it'll go away eventually, but like I still want to mark where it was. Like what was it projecting against? You know what I mean? Also, the eclipse in Conria, where is that located? Okay, well, the eclipse in Conria should have been like a black sun and the crimson moon down here. So it's like inside the earth. Tevat is hollow earth, okay? Tevat has dragon people and hollow earth theory. So Skirk, when she entered, she like came in like, pew, I'm gonna go through here. And then she passes through the cloud barrier and then she goes, pew, and then she lands on the planet. Right? So she crosses here and then she presumably crosses here because literally night, which is over here, turns into daytime and then she lands on the planet. So like the cloud barrier serves a purpose. And the cloud barrier somewhere in there is Asmodee's storage unit. Because in order to exit, is this Skirk? Okay. Because in order to exit this planet, the travelers had to go this way and then they got stuck here, right? Like this is where the travelers went. They went from Tevat, they went up here, and they got stuck here in Asmodee's storage unit. Because they never made it to here, which is where they were trying to go. But you can see through these! But you can't see out of them, so they're like one-way glass? If there's an ice wall in Shneshnaya, I'm losing my shit. Listen. There's gonna be an ice wall in Shneshnaya. There's just gonna be. It's gonna happen. I mean, we have lizard dragon astronauts. We have high-tech ancient Egypt. What more do you want? How many more conspiracies do you want on this video game cupcake? I never called them conspiracy sprinkles. How many conspiracy sprinkles do you want on your video game cupcake? That's what I'm asking. Bigfoot. Oh, do we have Bigfoot? We'll probably get a Yeti. Maybe the Snowland Fae are gonna reference Yetis. Although, doesn't Flynn's count as a Snowland Fae? We even have Atlantis. Like, technically, yes, you're right. We do technically have Atlantis. Twice. Depending on how you look at it. Would Conria be Agartha then? It could be Agartha or it could be any number of other underground civilizations. Like, okay, so I am a big proponent of the idea that Genshin has a ton of Lovecraftian themes and likes to reference Lovecraftian stuff a lot. And if that's the case, then in here, in the Abyss, there is like a sea monster god, which I think is actually Nibelung, right? And that would be Cthulhu. Literally Cthulhu, okay? And that would mean that the city down here is Cthulhu's city. Conria would be Cthulhu's city, which would make Kleiner really funny because Reinhard Kleiner was Lovecraft's pen pal. And a lot of Lovecraft's creations were based on his nightmares and his fears. Which Kleiner tried to, placate. So. Now, I know that Kleiner is a very common name. Okay, I know that. I also know that it could be a reference to, like, multiple characters. That doesn't make this reference not workable or not true. Like, you can have multiple references at the same time. Hoyo, it's actually better if there are multiple references at the same time because Hoyo loves that. That's like their favorite thing is to be like, oh, what happens when I mash this and this together? Swoosh! mess around, big gloobly gloobly, and I'm molded into something pretty and sell it as a waifu. You did not see what I did with my hands. It's okay. It's fine. That's probably for the best. Never mind. What's the Dark Sea then? That's the thing. That's what I'm saying, is where the hell is the Dark Sea in this case? Because, like, at some point, like, let's say, like, this is the continent of Teyvat drawn very badly, okay? Then, like, that would make all of this space here potentially the Dark Sea. But maybe also the Abyss is the Dark Sea. But maybe out here is the Dark Sea. Maybe out here is the Dark Sea because it's the Sea of Stars. Who the hell knows? How many reference sprinkles are on the waifu cake? How many do you want? The fact that someone could make an entire YouTube channel dedicated to just breaking down every reference in every character's design is a testament to how insane these writers and designers and this whole company is. Just for the record. Because you can do that. Like, if I wanted to start today, I could literally start with, like, any character and make, like, a 25 to 30-minute video just going down all their references. And I could do that every patch in perpetuity. It's crazy. Even just every Evangelion reference? Yeah. I mean, if you want to have a lot of fun, right? If you want to have a lot of fun, you could always go back to, like, the whole, time to traumatize a new group of players. Behold! Gender bent Asuka! Here's the thing. If you want to argue that Child is a gender-bent Asuka, which is totally viable to do, you can do this. In fact, Beta Child actually had one eye missing, which is the same as what happened with Asuka. And then you remember that Wanderer is supposed to be Shinji, but Wanderer is also supposed to be Mei, right? That means Child is to Wanderer what Mei is to Kiana. But not like Kiana Kaslana. He's not a Kaslana. He would be Durandal, the original one, which is funny because if you look at his hair, he's got this funny little pale streak in it. And the thing about Durandal is she has the same thing. She's blonde and then she has this little white streak in it because her original hair color is coming back. You want to go on the conspiracy pipeline? Like, we can do the conspiracy pipeline. I just don't like it. It's uncomfortable. I want to get off. Anyway. Rei from Evangelion. Dottore? Yeah. Dottore is a mix of Rei and Gendo. Like, if you want to get, like, technical. Do you not, you guys remember that, like, one scene where Rei finds the cat? Oh, she finds, like, that cat underneath the train. I don't know if I can find this. Oh, here it is. Rei finds the cat. There you go. Where she finds this pregnant cat. It's shaped differently than a dog. She's, like, fascinated by this cat because she's never seen one before. And what did Dottore find? A cat in the form of Wanderer. Just don't like it. I don't like it. I don't. Anyway, did I turn this off? I'm gonna turn this off. Go away. I don't want to look at this anymore. Cat guy. Yeah, precisely. Is Wanderer well, no. I hope not. But you can argue that Wanderer was full of inspiration for Dottore and is the reason why Dottore has so many copies of himself. So in a way, you could call that a pregnancy. I didn't say Empreg Wanderer. I did not say that. I said Empregdatore. It's very different. It's very, very different. Is Wanderer married to Nibelung? Only if you want to assume that Durandal is also Nibelung. It's like a whole nother... You can go down this conspiracy pipeline for a really long time, okay? Like, you can make parallels basically forever. That is Hoyoverse's entire gimmick, okay? You can basically see what you want to see at any given time. Like, it's all there, and it's all there on purpose. And it's there because the more stuff they stuff into a character, the less certain you can be as to which part is important. Anyway. That's all I got, really. It does make you wonder, though, if the Traveler and the Abyss Twin were both isolated at one point, that does mean that they exited at one point, like their space cube. I'm wondering... I don't know how many of you have seen this. Yeah, it's this one. The original opening was like a lot simpler, obviously, because it was like way earlier in development. This is from the beta. But what's really interesting here is that this one shows them trying to leave, but then also having a foreign god descend from the sky and take away your only kin. And then you get thrown into a dream full of nightmares. Okay. Those were probably prototype eyes. They hadn't decided to use those yet. But then this is where you woke up. You woke up in a prison. Right? You literally woke up in a prison in the sky. And then if you continue to watch this, you'll notice that the Traveler woke up here, and then down here in their reflection is Lumine. This is the twin that, in our case, isn't chosen, the Abyss twin, right? So there's a reflection going on here. Both of you exited a prison, but in different places, at different points in time. What is this? This is the opening cutscene from closed beta test 2, I think. Or 1. Is it from 1? I don't remember if this is 1 or 2. But it's the one before they added the Asmodee cutscene. Like, this is the prototype one, but, like, it covers the same thing, right? Because it still says that Asmodee, well, it calls a foreign god, but... a foreign god descends from the skies and takes away your only kin. The difference between these two is that the Traveler you choose after they're captured is sentenced to a nightmare where you watch your twin get chained up and stabbed. So they're supposed to be dead. So this right here is literally like Lumine getting stabbed. Right? And then you wake up in this prison in the sky. With the bars lifting. And then you wake up to Paimon. The prison looks like Celestia in the comics. Yeah, it does. Anyway, it's interesting. It's interesting in that context. That's all I'm saying. Because like, does it mean that Asmodee chose to release them? Or did they break free on their own? It's a good question. You didn't know if they had released it as a trailer afterwards, though? Nope. There's only like 2 or 3 copies of this quest intro on the entire internet, as far as I can tell. And I looked. Because I remember watching early Genshin Impact beta footage. Because at the time I was looking for another Breath of the Wild style game, and this seemed to suit that. So I was kind of like keeping a, one eye on the development process. And I remember seeing this. So I remember coming back to it later to try and find it and only being able to find this one and then 2 others, one in Spanish and one in Chinese. And I have not found the Lumine version, like the one where they pick Lumine. I looked for that one and I couldn't find it. But then again, I haven't really been to the depths of Bilibili. It might be on there. I don't know. All the orbs in the sky in the beta are cinematic mirrors, the ones in Acheron's Myriad Celestia, which is also the HOV's portals. Yeah, that was kind of the thing, is they do line up pretty nicely with Hersher of the Void portals from HI3. But I think that they refined the concept a little bit. But I think that was also always the intention. You know what I mean? Anyway, the reason I was talking about Child being Durandal or Kiana to Wanderer's May was actually because of all of the accusations of Child being the 3rd Descender. I was actually thinking instead, what if Aias, or Ajax, is not actually the 3rd Descender, but the boy whose body the 3rd Descender borrowed? Because if you read the finale of the Deep Gallery set, it says that the Voyager indwelled inside the body of a young man. So it's possible that the young man was named Aias. And I know that there's like a discrepancy between 2nd and 3rd Descender, but we don't actually know if Voyager is considered the 2nd Descender. That, as far as I know, has never actually been confirmed. But it would make a lot more sense in context of like inheriting stories, because then anyone who had the name of that person would then be subject to the fate of the 3rd Descender in that case. Does that make sense? Because they would have been possessed at one point. They would have had their whole fate changed. So Child would have been the next in a long lineage of that. To me, that makes a lot of narrative sense with what we know about how this fate system works. But that also would mean that we don't know the identity of the 2nd. But it's not a perfect theory by any means. It's definitely not a perfect theory, because it does make Hymns of the Far North a little bit confusing. Little bit. But also kind of not. I don't know. I need more information, but it's a theory worth keeping in mind, I think. Similar to your theory about Ajax being the reincarnation of Voyager after they were memory wiped. That is similar, yeah. We differ on the reincarnation aspect, I think. Because I got to that while I was researching Indwelling, because I was trying to find an answer as to why the Traveler can indwell in dragons, like Saurians. Like why they can possess those bodies. Because that sounds exactly like what Voyager did. And the only other person in the game that I remember who has that ability to do that is Fischl. but specifically prototype Fischl, aka Wei Yang, the one from Legend of the Shattered Halberd. Halberd? I don't know. That's the only one that actually also indwells. Now you can argue that like gods can indwell in objects, which is true. That is true. We've also seen gods possess animals. Also true. Usually just for short periods of time. But I was just thinking about like the significance of being able to indwell. This is still the best silhouette of Navia. Is Ajax Voyager or the third Descender? I mean, right now, most evidence points to Ajax or Ias being the name of the third Descender. That's why I said the theory I mentioned about that perhaps being the name of the vessel that Voyager possessed isn't a complete theory. And it does have some problems. It's not impossible. The way that Hoyo writes their stories does leave enough room for this to still be true, or some variation of it, partly because they haven't actually clearly defined who the second is. Even when they say, like, any allusion to the second is always like the one who came after or something along those lines, right? Like it's never the second Descender. So it could be that we've made some assumptions about the order of events. It is very possible. Retrofitting, yeah. So not retconning, but retrofitting. Taking old lore and kind of like recontextualizing or repurposing it. So it doesn't actually like break any previous lore. And still like works for future stuff. You thought it was corrupted Nibelung? All of those are theories. All of those are theories. We need to be really careful about what we call canon, like what we know for a fact because it has been explicitly told to us by a reliable source, and what we have theorized to be likely true based on assumptions we're making on what information we have available, right? It's really easy to confuse the two because there's lots of ideas that we get really attached to, but you know, like we have to be aware of what ideas, when we're attached to an idea and when an idea has been confirmed. Even I'm guilty of this sometimes because like I forget that some long-held theories end up not being true or being disproven in some way. And then I have to like kind of, you know, jog my brain and whatnot. It just happens because we're experiencing this story, over a long period of time. Even canon could be fake, trust no one. Yeah, don't forget, Irminsul is the retcon tree. Like, you could attribute any sort of mistake in history to the retcon tree. Oh, Irminsul deletion, you know. Like, you can do that. It's possible. Hoyo wrote themselves the perfect excuse. Blue Lazuri, as we're on the topic of names and fate, have you seen Linnea's running from the fate catching up with her? As a changeling, did she take the fate and name the child that she replaced? Probably. I mean, I have a feeling that Genshin's going to do this in like an ethical way, whereas like when a family loses a child or something, then a fae, like a young fae, will come to replace that dying or dead child. And like literally take their name and everything. But then you're right, in that case, they would also take their name. So that's possible. Otherwise, I feel like Hoyo just, It would be a really interesting thing to do, but I don't think Hoyo has it in them to actually make it that the Fae literally swap places with the child and let the child lives and goes somewhere else. I don't think that they'll do that, because like that either means that the child needs to go live with a Fae family, which I guess is possible, but also at that point, why? Or you end up with a whole glut of orphans. I don't think they'll make orphans. I just don't. I know there's a lot of orphans in Nod-Krai and stuff, but like, I just don't think they'll make that the reason why. Do I think the new update will debunk the Asmodeus Paimon theory? No. I don't. I don't know why it would. I feel like they would have to tell us Paimon's real origin in order to completely debunk the theory. Or at least give us like a pretty solid idea of what her backstory is, like her point of origin is, for that to debunk a theory. Is Linnea the first Nod-Krai character who got her own story quest? Yeah, actually, yeah. I had to think about that for a second, but yeah, everyone else had theirs inside of the Archon quest. And then we didn't have any Nod-Krai characters until now. So, yeah. She'd be the first. You're so confused you haven't kept up with the lore since 3.7. Please help. Oh, boy. Listen. Good luck. Good luck. Honestly, this game is really difficult to get into right now from a lore perspective, I think, personally. Because I think that there's like so much that's A, inaccessible, or B, like so contextual. And there's just so much of it that it would be so hard as a new player to get into this. You know, like that, I wouldn't want to be in that position. I really wouldn't. I do think Nod-Krai, for all the faults I have with it, I do think that the one thing it does well is it does make sure that it tells you what information from the previous main quests or even world quests is relevant for the current main quest. I think that is one thing it does that other quests might not. Like, if you didn't play the Narcissistic Rights Institute quests, it'll tell you everything you need to know right there, you know? Yeah. You went back to some of my old videos and a lot of them hold up pretty well and are relevant to current lore. I think I have like maybe a 60 to 65% hit rate ish, which isn't fantastic, but it's not bad either. I think I do better holding up on some broader strokes than I do with like small scale predictions. Did you guys know that the Millie Astor Wonderland costumes all have lore in them? Did you guys know that? Yeah. The good news is a lot of the furnishings and objects and stuff don't really have any lore in them. It's just the outfits. So that's nice. Makes it a little easier. What the one thing about the outfits though is that basically all of them just tell you about other planets that Octavia has visited and stuff. But even this really confuses me. right? You know, I was talking about the seeker thing earlier and how it seems like there are a lot of people who know about this supposedly hidden and blocked off planet. Octavia's been to a ridiculous amount of worlds. And I'm just wondering how that works if Voyager was cataloging a dying universe. Where the fuck are all these worlds that Voyager couldn't find then? Like that I have cognitive dissonance there. I need answers. We need to meet Octavia because I need to shake her until she tells me what's going on. You're so overwhelmed. Maybe one day someone will be able to dumb things down so you can catch up. Okay. If you're a new player or you've been gone for a while, the best thing you can do is play through the world quests and pay attention. I don't really know that you need to pay attention to any lore that's in events or story quests, but like pay attention to what's going on in the Archon quest and pay attention to what's going on in the world quests specifically. The big ones, like the multi-part ones. Those are the most relevant. I would also say that there's probably like maybe 6 books and 2 artifact sets. And maybe a weapon that you should read. And that's kind of it. Once you've done that, you're basically up to speed. I would say if you want to like get a feel for like ancient history lore and stuff like that to keep up with theory videos and stuff, I would recommend reading the lore for Flowers of Paradise Lost and Finale of the Deep Galleries. Those are the 2 that I would recommend. From there, well, there's really like 3 weapons you should probably read. There's the Azure Light Spindalute, and then there's what is the name? It's Azure something. There's the Azure Light Spindalute, and then there's Azure, just straight Azure Light. This is Skirk's weapon. And then the other one would be Staff of the Scarlet Sands. If you read those for like weapons and artifacts, you'll have a pretty good idea of Tevat's ancient history. And then on top of that, you should probably read Hymns of the Far North and Before Sun and Moon, and then you're good to go. I know I said there's more books. There are, but those are probably enough to get you started. That'll really get you up to date with basically all of like the background lore, like the big lore. And then everything else is just kind of regional. You can take your time with that. Oh, it's Aetherlight Spindalute. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm talking about this thing. Yeah. I meant this, and then Azure Light for the weapons, and then Finale of the Deep Galleries and Flowers for Paradise Lost, and then Staff of the Scarlet Sands. So 3 weapons, 2 artifact sets, and then Before Sun and Moon and Hymns of the Far North. Those are the 2 books. You don't really need the other ones yet. That'll basically get you up to speed on everything you need to know. For real, for real. Like if I had to give anyone like a list, if you were just gonna read a few things, those are the things I would recommend. Everything else is like helpful and good and will give you good information, but like if you just understand this stuff, you'll get like 70% of the way there. Anyway. It helps by now that a lot of the artifact lore has been mentioned in the quest by now too. That's kind of what I mean. Like, if you just pay attention to the main world quest of each region and you're like actually kind of paying attention in the Archon quest at the very least. Especially when you get to Sumeru Fontaine, Natlan, and then Nod-Krai. Nod-Krai will basically take everything you learned in the previous 3 regions and just kind of bring you up to speed. So. Leaving their offspring to be raised in the human world. Oh, wait. And taking the human children for themselves. Okay, so they do a swap. I missed that part. So they do swap a child for child. So I wonder if that means that they also swap destinies. That would be weird. Be very weird. What will happen to Genshin if the story ends? You'll have end of service. I'm just kidding. The story's not going to end. Hoyo said very many times that they don't like stories that end. So they want to create forever stories. Good luck with that, but I think the beauty of stories is that they all end one day. But really what we're looking at is the end of Travail, is what I'm going to call it, the Travail chapter. So that basically would take us right up through Conria, which may or may not be integrated into Snezhnaya at this point. It's hard to say. And then you would basically just start a chapter 2, which isn't Travail, but something else, where you go somewhere else and maybe even have a completely different main character, or even go to a different planet, but still have access to all your characters and everything like that. You know what I mean? So they're not gonna, I mean, this game would have to drop off a cliff financially in order for them to just end of service. It's not impossible, but it seems unlikely. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't intend to cover Genshin 2. I don't want to do that. So I am going to consider Genshin as ending when we get to Conria, or at least whatever the hell is considered the end of Travail. Has Hoyo EOS'd a game yet? Yeah. Have they? Hokai Gakuen is still going. Was there another one before then? Because Fly Me to the Moon doesn't count because that was not a live service game. Well, Gun Girls is Hokai Gakuen. It's still going. It's just not global. They closed down the global server, but not the rest of it. I don't think they've EOS'd anything yet, actually. But I would assume that GGZ or Hokai Gakuen, which is the same game, would be the first on the chopping block. I would assume. Will I do a full recap lore video once Genshin 2 is out? Sure. May as well. It'll be like my magnum opus of my whole lore career. I think that'll be good. Or Tears of Themis. Yeah, that's possible. Tears of Themis, I think as far as like revenue goes and everything is rather on the lower end of things. Zombie Gal Kawaii was like proto GGZ and that one died. I haven't even heard of that one. Oh, it would have to be longer than 2. It would probably be longer than 2 hours, yeah. But then again, maybe not. It's not like it'd have to include every world quest and every story quest or whatever. It would just be primary history and Archon quest stuff. That might not actually be that bad. Maybe 2.5 hours, something like that. Do I have a Discord server? Yes, I do. You can get there either by becoming a channel member once. You don't need to stay a channel member. You just need to become one once. It allows you to link YouTube to Discord, and then you can get in, no problem. Alternatively, you are welcome to ping me over on Ko-fi if you don't want to link your YouTube page, or you can email me directly. I use the YouTube and Ko-fi and the email stuff to kind of like filter out trolls and bots and things like that to kind of keep the server a lot more manageable in terms of spam and all that nonsense. Keeps my mods happy, you know? So it's not like it's completely a membership perk. It's just a convenient tool. Put it that way. A video rating all the video theories I've made, I'm not doing that. Once I've made a theory, it is out of my head. And I don't think about it again until, like, maybe it's been relevant or not. I don't want to. Anyway, I don't know that I have much else to say on this for the most part. I think the thing I am most curious about, though, is those hands in the dark space. These. I am most curious about these hands. Yeah. Making a theory is like giving birth then. Brain babies. Yeah, I mean, they kind of like go off and do their own thing once they've gestated, you know? Once they've been kind of completed, that's kind of it. Like, they just kind of get to exist on their own, and if they come true, they come true, and if they don't, they don't, and, you know, they kind of just live their lives. Short or long as they are. Yeah. Why won't I cover Genshin 2? Because I'm fucking old, man. Do you know how old I'm gonna be by the time Genshin 2 comes out? I'm gonna be 40. I think that's time to retire. At that point, I will have done Genshin for over 8 years. That's a long friggin' time. And frankly, I probably won't continue to make lore-based content on YouTube anyway after that point. You know, like, it's not just Genshin 2. It's just like, that is a good time to stop. You know what I mean? The other thing, this kind of affects everyone. Obviously, it disproportionately affects me because it's my job, but it affects everybody. The way YouTube is currently structured makes it actually a lot more difficult for content creators to build channels and make a living than it used to be. Meaning, content creators in general, like overall, not less so in the video game space because there's a pretty reliable stream of like revenue sources from sponsors and stuff, but like for basically every other type of channel, it's a lot harder these days to make a living on YouTube. Unless you're like extremely popular or have a really dedicated fan base or have some kind of really popular merchandise. And I think that's going to start getting even harder. And part of it is because the easier something becomes to do, in this case, make videos, the more of that thing you're going to get. So right now, we're dealing kind of like in the era of AI video generation, right? And I'm not going to make a commentary on whether or not it's good, bad, or whatever, but the reality is that the more accessible AI video tools become, the more videos we're going to get, right? That suddenly means that we're going to have a whole there's a whole moat of creation that just kind of gets eroded away. And when those moats go away, you just get a lot more product, which means you're gonna have to viewers are gonna have to sift through a lot more stuff to find, you know, the stuff that they actually want to watch. And that's going to have repercussions down the line, and it's only going to get more and more prevalent as time goes on. So just forecasting out a couple of years, I kind of think like that'll be a good time to make a strategic exit. You know what I mean? Because I think it's just going to get harder, and it's going to be a little bit more polar. I honest to God think we're going to end up with something that looks a bit more like old school cable TV. I really do. Where like a few rise to the top and the rest are like kind of clamoring for what's left over. I don't think there's going to be that sort of middle happy ground anymore. So, yeah. I'm just forecasting out like what I see, like how the platform's moving. YouTube also just lost a court case about their algorithm. So they're going to have to address how the algorithm works, which means that regardless of what they do, we're in for another YouTube algorithm shakeup where the whole algorithm game changes. If you guys are familiar at all with MatPat's videos, he used to make sort of like a state of YouTube address video every so often whenever the whole ecosystem of YouTube would change to kind of explain it. That's kind of like what we're in for. So it's just something to keep in mind because it will change the types of videos you see. It'll change the way you access videos. It'll change who you decide to watch. And I think it'll also change what types of things people make. So considering that this is currently my job, I'm also thinking about things in terms like that. So looking at Genshin 2 from that perspective, to me, it doesn't make sense to cover it the way it made sense for Genshin 1, right? Like the landscape is different. And I think, this is my personal opinion, I think that even if a story doesn't end, I think that people should still retire. You know, like I can't imagine that like you can stay extremely motivated and extremely hyped and extremely like not burned out for decades on the exact same game or the exact same TV show or the exact same story. You know what I mean? Like I feel like people like that are very few and far between. And I think the onset of Genshin 2, if and when it comes, that'll be a perfect time to for basically like a whole new generation to come in, you know, and take over. So if I'm still here, I'm taking up a slot. You know what I mean? I don't really need to be here at that point. I've kind of done my part. Somebody else can take up the tinfoil hat at that point. I'll have fulfilled my role, basically. You wouldn't have been playing Genshin or Hoyo games for as long as you have if you didn't discover your... Okay, see, that's another thing. I don't want to get you guys stuck on gambling. These are still gambling games. I have such mixed feelings when people say, like, I'm still playing this game because of you or your channel or, like, the community I've met through this or, like, whatever. I have such mixed feelings because, like, these are such predatory games. And so, like, on the one hand, I'm like, oh, I feel bad. But on the other hand, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, they're really interested in learning and exploring and, like, dismantling. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a mixed feeling. I actually think gacha games can teach you financial literacy if you're aware of what you're doing. I think you can learn some pretty good budgeting skills from gacha games, but that also requires some discipline, which I think many struggle with, and it can cause problems. So most games are gambling games now. Yeah, that's also something. That's another thing is I'm kind of just tired of long games. And I do want to play short games again. I started playing some retro games recently, like some older ones that I used to play, and that's been really refreshing, and that's been like a really good palate cleanser. That's a good way to refer to it. And I miss those games. I miss those shorter games. I miss those self-contained experiences. You know, like I missed the independent stories of this small cast of characters I used to get really attached to. So I also think it's like a really good thing to have time to be able to play a whole breadth of games, and I'd like time to do that as well. So. But, like, listen, even if I don't make lore-based content, chances are pretty good I still might stream games. I might just change the types of games I'm streaming. The thing is like, I think it's fun to stream games and talk to people and, like, dissect stories and talk about their inspirations and things like that. I think that's a lot of fun. What takes a lot of time is constructing and putting together and researching and all that kind of stuff, the actual, like, self-contained video essays, right? Those take a lot of time and a lot of effort. So I think post-retirement, I probably won't disappear. I'm probably just gonna, you know, stream self-contained games periodically and talk story and stuff like that. But yeah, because like at that point it's not like contingent on it being my job. It's part of the fun, right? So it's a different thing. I didn't mean to go into that whole spiel, but it is something that I think is important to think about, not just for me, although it does, like I said, affect me disproportionately, but also for basically anyone who watches anything on YouTube. Because, like, the landscape's going to change. The things you like are going to change. The things you're going to be able to watch and find are going to change. So, you know. It takes ages to put together my thoughts and write a 30,000 character lore post. I can only imagine how much time putting together a video of similar length would take. It's a process. Like, if when a 30,000 character script is approximately a 30-minute final video. Although if you're me, it's probably a 40-minute final video because I will yap and add things in post. If a video is 40 minutes, it will take me 3 to 5 times the full length of the video to record the first audio draft. And then it will take me twice the length of the video at least to clean up the audio and or add amendments, fix issues, whatever. And then it'll take me another twice the length of the video to add music, do final touches, all that other kind of stuff. And then it gets handed off to my editor. So I don't have to do that anymore, which is nice. But there's still a lot of time back and forth involved in that. And that's not including the time it takes to write the script. So, like, however long it takes you to write a script, assume that to produce a full video, it's going to take upwards of 10 to 12 times as long to make a video as it does to just write something. It's roughly how it goes. Anyway, I think that's all I have. Unless you guys have any last questions, I think we'll leave it here. I am gonna let's see. Looking at my schedule. I think there's time between now and the next patch to do another stream, but like, you know, an AMA lore talk chat exploring stream. I haven't done any of the Nod-Krai anecdotes, so I should probably do those, and I think we could do them on stream while chatting. I think that would be fun. So I want to do that before the next patch comes. And we'll take it from there, I think. Did I talk about the Varka quest since its release? I don't have anything to say about the Varka quest, actually. I'm sorry. I mean, Varka quest is literally just bloodstained night lore. It's been around since 1.0. I've got no words. Like, it's okay. I have nothing to add. I'm sorry. Like, it was a fun quest. It was pretty. I don't have anything to add. Nothing. So. Yeah. Super. Oh, are there supers I missed? I'm sorry. Hold on. Oh, there are. I'm sorry. Gary, thank you for your super again. This is very nice of you. I realize the way gods die in Tevat is sort of like a supernova. I mean, they do explode. If you assume that everything in Tevat is like a fragment of a bigger thing, like if you start at like a big ball and then you sprint it off into 2 balls and then those split off into 2 balls each and then 2 balls and then 2, like all the way down, then like, yeah, I mean, if the source of everything is a star, then everybody is like a tiny fragment of a star. So an explosion of a god would be akin to a supernova. Yeah. Cyrus Gold, thank you again. Tevat is like a 4D hypersphere with extra layers. Oh, you're referring to this. This kind of looks like a diagram of what the optometrist gives me when they try to show me whether or not I have macular degeneration. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I still don't quite understand how Amphorius in Star Rail was structured either. But I only had to deal with that for a year, so it bothered me less. You know. Anyway, that was fun. I'm gonna delete this now. This doesn't exist anymore. It's gone. It's all gone. All gone. No more. About to say, it looks like what my eye appointment is about to look like tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. You're still trying to make that diagram work with the fact that the frost moon is always full? Oh, don't get me started. Because that means it doesn't move. It has a fixed position. It's not orbiting anything. It's just stationary. Right? Like, isn't that right? That also means Tevat doesn't move, right? Wait, I don't like it. Oh, the sun moves opposite its orbit, or it's just always opposite this. Yeah, what? I don't like that. I don't like it. Why did you bring that up? That's awful. It's awful. I hate it. Geostationary orbit still wouldn't explain why it's always full. Like, everything would have to be stationary at that point. Like, everything. Like, it made sense for the false moon to always be full because it was just a projection. It doesn't make sense for the real physical moon to be full. But then again, that moon also changes sizes the same way Dvalin does. In some scenes it's really big, in some scenes it's actually pretty small. So I don't know. Hard to say. That scene with the Torii, the moon is pretty small. It's pretty small. Dunno, man. Dunno. Worse when there were 3 moons? Yeah, but the 3 moons probably cycled through phases. They probably orbited. You know? Tevat could be tidally locked. I mean, it would be tidally locked if the moon doesn't move. Wouldn't that... That would mean all of the water pulls to one side and one side only. That'd be very strange. I don't want to think about this anymore. Yeah, I don't want to think about this anymore. It's just, I think this planet is not meant to make sense. I think there's some weird fuckery going on. I don't like it. Okay, I think I'm gonna cut it here. I don't have anything to say. I'm just gonna keep rambling if I stick around. So I think I'm gonna call it. We'll just if you guys have any more questions or you think of anything, bring them to the next stream. We'll do one before the next patch drops. That much I can do. Oh, we have a really dumb solution first. Okay. The laws of Tevat warp how space is perceived so that Tevat looks flat. So there's light warping that projects the bright side of the moon opposite the sun. I'm going to send you a cursed image because that made my brain hurt worse. I don't like it. So I'm going. I'm going. Okay. Thank you all so much. We'll see you later. I hope you're excited. This should be fun. Wait. One thing. Guys, you guys know the That's what it reminds me of. Susty has a playpen. Asmodee has a playpen. Okay, I'm going now.